Lock in with me for 10 minutes and I'm going to show you how to get over your fear of the gym. If we haven't met, I'm Lily. I am a professional ballet dancer, trainer, and founder of the Barbell Ballerina. And for the past 6 years, I have been on a mission to really redefine how ballet dancers train, because for too long, the focus has been on aesthetics. We have been told to stay small, frail, and fragile, which results in extremely high injury rates. 4 in 5 professional dancers will get injured every year, and my goal is to get that statistic way down with the work that I do. So I'm going to take you back to when I first started going to the gym, which was actually in my sophomore year of college. So I was actually a pre-med student at the University of Michigan, and obviously with the demands of really intense science classes, I had a lot of stress and needed an outlet to really help me turn that physical stress into something positive. So my apartment had a gym in the basement, and every time I had a stressful exam coming up, or I just needed a safe space to go to really process my emotions, I would go to the gym and kind of experiment with different things. To be honest, I had zero clue what I was doing. Often I would just scroll Instagram and screenshot different exercises that I thought looked cool and try to do them on my own. Sometimes weird little lunge bicep combos, banded glute exercises that didn't really do anything. I was experimenting. I was learning. It was all part of the process. But interestingly, I never went to the gym in the beginning with the intention of improving my ballet performance or preventing injury, which is everything that I preach now. It was literally just to keep myself sane and get through those really difficult science classes and just feel confident in myself, because every time I would finish a workout, I noticed how empowered I felt, because regardless of what weight I was pushing, I was challenging myself and showing myself in real time that I could do hard things. And that eventually grew into my great passion for fitness, which is what you see today. But that took quite a few years to evolve. So after college is when I decided to actually pivot and not pursue medicine. Even though I did get an acceptance to medical school, I made a life-changing decision to pursue professional ballet. So that took me to Chicago, where I was in a professional division training program, super intense, 30 hours a week of ballet point rehearsals. And that's where the gym was still my constant, because I made sure to get an apartment with a gym. But I would go, again, process my emotions, relieve stress. But this is where I started to realize the immense benefits in terms of gaining strength and improving my performance as a ballet dancer. So over time, I would notice that certain exercises would really help my ballet technique. And it was just this sort of discovery process of, wait, this works. What if I try this? And just literally learning in real time. And one thing that was really cool was at this time, because of the volume of dancing that I was doing, I developed a couple recurring injuries, mostly perineal and Achilles tendonitis at that point. And as I began implementing more and more strength training and learning what worked, those injuries literally faded away. And that was such a life-changing moment for me, because I realized those injuries could be prevented and even reversed. And it just took knowing what to do in the gym to get those benefits. So time went on, I got certified as a trainer, I started coaching in person, I started my online business, the Barbell Ballerina, worked with one-on-one clients, made courses, made a couple versions of my app, and now we're on to a completely custom one that's coming out soon. But all of this took about 8 years, because when I first started lifting, I was about 20, and now I'm 28. So it took a lot of time to build the methods that I now teach as a trainer. And again, lots of trial and error. But I want to give you that context to show you that I didn't always know what I was doing. In the beginning, like I said, I was experimenting. I was using probably 5 or 10 pound weights, not really pushing myself, and just literally doing what I thought would work. Now, speaking about gym anxiety and that whole journey, I feel like it's really easy to look at me now and think, wow, she's always been confident in the gym, she must have always known what she was doing. No, not in the slightest. In the beginning, I was extremely anxious. Like, I would literally go into the gym, grab a yoga mat, go into the most hidden corner of the gym just to do my warm-ups and, like, you know, feel in my own element so I could, like, go out into the gym, feel even slightly more confident in who I was. And then because I didn't know anything about lifting, about what weights to use, about the proper form, none of it, I obviously felt very, very insecure about if I even belonged in that space, and especially how I would be perceived. I'm somebody who has always been very aware of others' perception of me, and I'm working on it. But at the time when I was first starting at the gym, I just felt like everybody's eyes were on me, like everyone was judging me, which probably wasn't even true. There is a term called the spotlight effect, which some of you may have heard of. It's when you think that the whole world is just watching you, monitoring you, that everybody's eyes are on you, when in reality, everybody else has the same spotlight effect, and they're more worried about themselves than monitoring everyone else. So once I realized that, and also just started getting more experience, things became a little bit easier. But in the beginning, it was very, very difficult for me to show up and feel like I belonged in the space. To be honest with you, a lot of it in the beginning was kind of fake it till you make it and pretend you are confident, because when you can sort of pretend that you already have something or you already are something, you will start to actually embody that quicker. That's not to say to be somebody you're not or to be fake, but you can sort of put on like almost an armor of like, okay, this is who I want to be. This is how I'm going to show up today. And even if it's not perfect, it's okay. But I'm doing a lot of good for myself by showing up. So if you can just go into it with the tiniest goal of like, I'm just gonna show up for me, period. I don't care if I don't know the form yet. I don't care if people are gonna look at me. I'm just gonna go for me. That takes a lot of the pressure off of how you think you're going to be perceived. So that's the first thing, is show up for yourself and only yourself. Because at least for me, my journey with the gym was very much a personal development, self-development journey in and of itself. And I credit my passion for the gym for almost 100% of my success that I've achieved to date, because of the discipline it gave me, because of the ability to be perceived and seen, not being perfect and just trying something, because of the literal strength it gave me, both physically and mentally. And not to mention the resilience, because if something doesn't work, maybe you can't lift something quite yet, you bounce back from it. You're like, okay, not today. I'm gonna try again next week or next month. And then when you do get it, it's like, oh wow, I can do that. Now what else can I do? It's this constant like personal growth journey that you can do really challenging things, and then that transfers over to your life. So if you fall out of a pirouette in class, or you have a difficult personal relationship, you can navigate it so much quicker because you know what you're capable of. Now let's talk about more of the practical side of things. So how do you know what weights to use, the proper form, etc.? So when you're first starting out, you want to remember a couple things. Typically, upper body, you will be using less weight than lower body, especially if you are a woman or female bodied, just because as women, we have a lot more power in our legs. So you will probably surprise yourself at how much you can squat, how much you can hip thrust and deadlift, and upper body may be more of a process for you, which is totally fine. But at the same time, that actually becomes very exciting when you do get those strength gains over time. Like, wow, I can do a pull-up now. I can bench press X amount. So just know that when you're first selecting your weights, it's tricky to generalize like how much weight you should use, because there's thousands of exercises. But as a general framework, if you're doing like a shoulder press or a dumbbell row or something, you could go in like the 10 to 30 pound range. Definitely don't start super light unless you're like working through an injury or something. You can do so much more than you give yourself credit for. Then with lower body movements, again, don't just want to give out random numbers because everyone is so different. But say it's your first time squatting with a dumbbell, you could use like a 30 or 40 pound weight. And this is something I could totally go into more. If you want me to make a video at the gym just being like, here's what weight I would do for XYZ exercises, I can totally do that. Just comment below. But that is sort of your general framework. Now, the other thing is that when you're learning, you do want to make sure your form is correct. So my app is designed to show you exactly what the form is supposed to be. It's myself doing the demonstrations. Like I said, I've got 8 years of experience, so. And we will also have written instructions for what to focus on. So how to engage your core and what muscle groups to think about. I would say getting the form right is sort of the biggest process because you don't want to rush it. You want to make sure you're really understanding it. And I also wouldn't recommend pushing the weight too quickly until you're really sure about the form. But like I said, my app will guide you through that, and I'm always here to help as well. Now, once you do feel fairly confident with the form is when you can start to push the weight. I think a big misconception, especially with ballet dancers, where we are used to doing the same thing every day, like ballet technique class, plies are always going to be the same, tendus are always going to be the same, and don't really add any sort of progressive nature to it. It's just what it is. Same thing if you go to maybe a yoga class or other more so body weight forms of cross training. It is what it is, and you don't go much beyond that. That is where the barbell ballerina is very different from any other methods of cross training, is we focus on progressive overload, which is that you are not just going to be here with your weights over time. You're going to go like this, maybe a little bit like this, but you're going to go generally in an upward direction of progressing over time. What does that mean? So you could be adding weight. So you're going up from a 30-pound squat, like we talked about, to a 35-pound squat, a 40-pound squat. You could be adding sets or reps. A rep is one single repetition of a movement, so one squat. A set is when you have a grouping of 10 squats. So if you say, I have 3 sets of 10 squats, that means you're doing 10 squats, resting, 10 squats, resting, 10 squats. So in order to progressively overload over time, you would add maybe another set or a couple reps here and there. And this programming is all done by me in my app as well. So you don't need to do any guesswork. It's all built out for you. There are many other ways to progressively overload as well. You could change the tempo. You could slow down the eccentric portion of the movement. You could do a pause. There are so many ways, but for simplicity, just know that the most basic way is usually just to increase the weight, which has a lot of benefits in and of itself. Another thing we should touch on is just like, how do you use some of the machines? So if you are a complete beginner and you want to learn how to use some of those extra machines, say a hamstring curl machine or cable machines, again, my app will show you how to do that. But if you are just like learning on the spot, you can look at the little description. There's usually a picture and some instructions on the machines. You could look up quick tutorials on that. I'm planning to do some on here on YouTube as well. Oftentimes the mental barrier of thinking that you don't know it all comes in the way, and then we hold ourselves back. So just remember that you are not going to know everything up front, and that is totally fine. You didn't know all the elements of a ballet class before you started ballet, right? You didn't know how to drive a car before you learned how to drive a car. Like, these things take time, and it's just about the intention of showing up and literally putting your best foot forward, of just showing up, being curious, eager to learn, and just implement it along the way. That covers most of the practical side of things. Just going back to building confidence in general, remember that confidence isn't just something that we can attain naturally by feeling or emotion. It's something that involves action. And the reason for that is that confidence grows from actually doing the thing you said you were going to do, because then you prove to yourself that you're capable of it. And the more reps you put in of taking the action, the more confident you will get. So maybe the first time you show up to the gym, you're gonna be super nervous and anxious like I was. Like I was literally shaking like a leaf. But maybe the second and third time, you're a little more comfortable. And then a couple weeks in, you feel great. And then what do you know, 6 months in, you are feeling phenomenal. You feel strong and empowered. And maybe you're even getting other people to join you. So remember that it's a long game. Confidence is not gonna happen overnight. But the best thing you can do is just keep showing up for yourself. And like I said in the beginning, choose one goal, and if that goal is just to show up for you and see what happens, see what you can learn, then you're going to be so much better off than somebody who's just holding themselves back because they feel like they need to be perfect before they start. One last thing I'll say: people at the gym are generally extremely nice people. I feel like there's this stereotype of gym bros being super intense and like judgmental and whatnot, but remember that anybody who chooses to work out in their spare time is probably going to have a lot of endorphins. Insert Legally Blonde quote here. And people with endorphins are generally very happy and very kind. So even if you have a question on a specific lift or you need a spot, know that you can just go up to someone and ask, because people want to see you succeed. And even just showing up to the gym is sort of a signal to people like, oh, I care about this. Like, I'm here for me. I'm serious. And people really respect that. Trust me. Okay, last thing. If you have a really good playlist that makes you feel empowered, that can often get you just like in your own zone, in your own bubble, so you feel less aware of like people looking at you. So I have a really good playlist below. It is mostly rap, I will just say that up front, but if you need something to just like pump you up, that is a great one. Okay, my camera is literally overheating, but I hope this was so helpful, and I wish somebody had told me all of this when I first started lifting. So comment below your thoughts, and I would love to make more videos like this. I hope this inspires you to head to the gym and start this journey for yourself. I will see you in the next video.